Humans are curious creatures. We explore, we question, we seek to understand our world. This drive is ancient. It is fundamental to who we are. News, in its simplest form, is information. It is knowledge about events happening around us. And this knowledge was, and still is, vital. It could mean the difference between safety and danger. It could mean finding food or facing starvation. The need for news is woven into the very fabric of our existence. A primal urge to know what lies beyond our immediate senses, to connect with the experiences of others in our small corner of the cosmos. Long before written words, news traveled. It traveled through stories. It echoed in the songs of our ancestors. Imagine a small band of early humans. They gathered around a crackling fire. A scout returns. He brings news of a new water source. Or perhaps he warns of a predator nearby. This was vital information. It was shared orally. Elders passed down knowledge. Storytellers recounted important events. These were the first journalists, the first conduits of news. Cave paintings might have served as early news bulletins, depicting successful hunts or significant migrations for all to see and learn from over time. As societies grew, so did the need for more organized news. Consider the vast empires of antiquity: Rome, China, Egypt. They needed to communicate across great distances. Messengers on foot or on horseback became essential. These were the information arteries of ancient states. They carried decrees from rulers. They brought reports from distant provinces. In Rome, acta diurna, or daily acts, were public notices. These were carved on stone or metal and posted in public places. They informed citizens about governmental, military, and social happenings. This was an early step towards systematic news dissemination. In towns and villages, another figure emerged: the town crier. This person would walk through the streets. They would shout out the latest news and proclamations. Imagine their loud voice cutting through the daily bustle. They announced new laws. They shared news of local events. They were a living newspaper for communities where many could not read. Their role was crucial. They ensured everyone, regardless of literacy, had access to important information. This was a public service, a way to keep the community informed and connected, a fundamental building block of a functioning society, even in ancient times. For millennia, sharing news was a slow process. It relied on memory. It relied on handwritten copies. Think of a scribe. Carefully, letter by letter, they would copy a text. This took immense time and effort. Only a few copies could be made. Information spread, but it was a trickle, not a flood. Important news might take weeks or even months to reach distant ears. This limitation shaped how societies developed. It constrained the speed at which ideas could spread. Knowledge was precious, often hoarded, available only to a select few who had the means or the position to access these painstakingly created documents. Then a universe-shattering invention appeared. In the 15th century, Johannes Gutenberg perfected the printing press with movable type. This changed everything. Suddenly, information could be duplicated quickly. It could be duplicated cheaply. It was a revolution. Knowledge could now spread like wildfire. Books, pamphlets, and eventually news sheets could reach thousands, then millions. This was not just a technological leap, it was a profound shift in human consciousness. The power of information began to shift from the few to the many. It was a cosmic key, unlocking countless minds. The printing press birthed early forms of printed news. Small occasional pamphlets appeared. These were called courantos, or newsletters. They reported on specific events, often wars or foreign affairs. They catered to a growing hunger for information. Merchants needed news for trade. Rulers needed it for governance. Ordinary people were curious about the world beyond their own towns. These early news sheets were often irregular. They were sometimes subject to censorship, but they marked a clear beginning. The seed of the modern newspaper had been planted, nourished by this new technology. By the 17th century, the first true newspapers began to emerge. These were published more regularly. Some came out weekly. They offered a wider range of content. They included local news, foreign reports, and sometimes even advertisements. Think of titles like the London Gazette or Relation aller Firmen und Gedenkwürdigen Historien from Germany. These publications started to shape public opinion. They fostered debate. They became a new force in society. The journey from a town crier's shout to a printed newspaper page was a monumental leap for humanity's ability to share and receive news. The turn of the 20th century brought another marvel. Humans learned to send voices through the air. Invisible waves carried information. This was radio. Imagine the astonishment. News no longer needed a physical form like paper. It could travel at the speed of light. It could reach homes directly. People could hear events unfolding, sometimes live. This was a new kind of immediacy. It transcended geographical barriers in a way print never could. The air itself became a conduit for human stories, for warnings, for triumphs, connecting distant listeners in a shared, invisible auditorium. Radio transformed the landscape of news. Political leaders could speak directly to millions. President Roosevelt's fireside chats are a famous example. He used radio to reassure a nation during difficult times. During wars, radio brought updates from the front lines. Families gathered around their wireless sets. They listened intently. News became a shared auditory experience. It fostered a sense of national and even global community. The power of the spoken word, amplified by technology, resonated deeply. It could stir emotions, rally support, and provide comfort in ways print alone could not achieve. Then came television. Pictures joined the sound. Seeing became believing in a new, powerful way. News reports now had faces. Events unfolded visually in living rooms. A political speech was not just words, it was a person's expression, their gestures. A distant conflict was not just a report, it was images of its reality. This added a profound dimension to how humans experienced news. The world, once distant and abstract, suddenly felt much closer, much more real. Television cameras became our extended eyes, peering into corners of the globe we could only imagine before. Broadcast news, first radio and then television, profoundly shaped societies. It influenced elections. It documented historical milestones like the moon landing for all to witness simultaneously. It brought the realities of war like Vietnam into homes, sparking debate and changing public perception. The global village, a term coined by Marshall McLuhan, began to feel real. Shared experiences, delivered through these electronic media, connected humanity. Yet this power also came with responsibilities. The power to frame narratives, to select what is shown, became a significant aspect of the news landscape, shaping our understanding of the cosmos of human events. The late 20th century unveiled another cosmic shift, the internet. This vast network connected computers worldwide. It created a new dimension for information. News could now be accessed instantly, from almost anywhere. Early websites began to post news articles. Traditional newspapers created online versions. The digital age of news had dawned. No longer were we bound by the rhythms of printing presses or broadcast schedules. The flow of information became a continuous, rushing river, accessible with a click, a tap, a thought. This was a profound democratization and a challenge. This digital revolution accelerated the news cycle to an unprecedented pace. The concept of waiting for the morning paper or the evening broadcast began to fade. News became a 24/7 phenomenon. Websites updated constantly. News alerts pinged on devices. This meant information spread faster than ever before. It also meant less time for reflection, less time for thorough fact-checking before something went viral. The sheer volume of information became a new universe to navigate. Our ability to consume matched our ability to produce, creating a deluge of data, a new frontier demanding new skills of discernment. Then came social media. Platforms like Twitter, Facebook, and others transformed how news is not just consumed, but also created and shared. Every user became a potential reporter. Eyewitness accounts, videos, and photos could bypass traditional gatekeepers. News could spread from person to person, like a chain reaction across the digital cosmos. This brought new voices and perspectives. It empowered citizen journalism, but it also created challenges. Misinformation and fake news could spread just as quickly. Echo chambers formed where people only saw news that confirmed their existing beliefs. We stand now in this dynamic, ever-evolving digital news landscape. The future of news is being written every day. Artificial intelligence helps curate news. Citizen journalists continue to report from the ground. Yet, the challenge of discerning truth from falsehood is greater than ever. It is our cosmic responsibility as inhabitants of this information age to be critical thinkers, to seek out diverse sources, to question, to verify. The journey of news, from ancient whispers to the global digital network, reflects humanity's unending quest to know, to understand, and to connect with the universe of events around us.